Yeah, very good morning to one and all. So today I will be starting the module 2. Okay, so basically in module 2 we discuss about this orthogonal frequency division multiplexing. Okay, it's basic concept and as well as how this OFDM is used in LTE. Okay, okay. So before I start what OFDM is, actually we need to understand the concept of multi-carrier communication or multi-carrier modulation. Yeah, so now I change to full screen. Is it visible? My slide?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Already I discussed most of the thing uh, yesterday when I was discussing about mitigation of broadband fading, right? In that one technique was OFDM, right? So let me say how this multi-carrier modulation concept has evolved and how it is useful in high data rate applications, right? So we all know the requirement of the today's applications is what? High data rate. So the moment I say high data rate, the symbol duration will be small, right? Because the data rate and symbol duration are inversely proportional. I hope you are all aware of this. I said RB, that is bit rate, which is equal to 1 by TB, right? So where TB is the bit duration, right? In terms of if you want to tell symbol rate, then we say R suffix S is equal to 1 by TS, right? Okay. So as I said, the data rate is inversely proportional to the symbol duration. So if I want a high data rate, obviously the symbol duration has to be very small. So when the symbol duration is going to become small, that leads to what means if the symbol duration is less than the channel delay spread, so it leads to intersymbol interference, right? So as of now, what I said, the today's applications requirement is what? High data rate and the channel should be free from intersymbol interference. Okay. So when can I say the channel will be free from intersymbol interference? When the symbol duration, okay, is much greater than the channel delay spread, then I can say there will be no intersymbol interference. Hope you are all able to understand what I am saying, because this has been repeated many times. Right? You all know what is channel delay spread and what is symbol duration, right? If the symbol duration is much greater than the channel delay spread, then I said the channel is free from intersymbol interference. So there will be no intersymbol interference, right? So I said for high data rates, right? The symbol time is much smaller than the delay spread. So because of that, the intersymbol interference will be very severe. So to overcome this problem, we go for multi-carrier modulation. So what we do in multi-carrier modulation is we are going to divide the high rate transmit bit stream, okay, high rate transmit bit stream into L lower rate substreams. I think yesterday I've shown the diagram. Even today also I will show the diagram. It is there. I hope with that you will be able to visualize that how we are going to divide the high rate transmit bit stream into L lower rate substreams. Okay. So how do we choose the value of L here? means how many substreams or subcarriers, right? So that is based on, means each of the subcarrier should have an effective symbol time, so which is equal to what? Ts into L, which is to be much greater than the channel delay spread, we say. Then only we can say the channel is free from intersymbol interference. Hope this point is clear. In case of multi-carrier modulation, I said we will be dividing the high rate transmit bit stream into L lower rate substreams. The value of L is chosen such that each of the subcarriers will have an effective symbol time, right, which is much greater than the channel delay spread. With that, I can say the channel is free from intersymbol interference. Okay. Then I said we get L lower rate substreams, right? So these individual substreams are then sent over the L parallel subcarriers, okay, which will be maintaining the total desired data rate. And if the subcarriers are orthogonal, okay, then we call that type of modulation as orthogonal frequency division multiplexing, OFDM. Yes, I hope you understand what I say, because already yesterday with the diagram I said this, right? Only I am putting this in a slightly better way. Okay, I said today's application requirement is what? High data rate. We need more data rate, and there should not be any intersymbol interference. So to do that, we need to have a symbol time which is to be much greater than the channel delay spread. Then only I can say the channel is free from intersymbol interference. Okay. So as I said, for high data rates, the symbol time will be much smaller than the delay spread. So then how do we, when if you want to achieve the high data rate, we need to have a small symbol time. And as I said, the bit rate and the symbol or bit duration are inversely proportional. Hence, if I want to achieve high bit rate, the symbol duration will be small. And if it is less than the delay spread, then the intersymbol interference becomes a severe problem, right? So to overcome that problem, I said we go for multi-carrier modulation. So what we do in multi-carrier modulation is we divide the high rate transmit bit stream into low, that is L lower rate substreams. So the value of L is chosen such that each of the subcarriers will have a symbol time which is much greater than the channel delay spread. With that, I can say the channel is free from intersymbol interference. Okay, so these individual substreams will be sent over L parallel subcarriers, right? So maintaining the total desired data rate. And if the subcarriers are orthogonal, then we say this type of modulation as orthogonal frequency division multiplexing. Okay. Here, the data rate on each of the subcarriers, right, is much less than the total data rate. And the corresponding subcarrier bandwidth is also much less than the total system bandwidth. Fine. I repeat once again here. I said the data rate on each of the subcarrier is much less than the total data rate, and the corresponding subcarrier bandwidth is also much less than the total system bandwidth. So now the number of substreams will be chosen such that each subcarrier has a bandwidth less than the coherence bandwidth of the channel. So this is another requirement, right? If the subcarrier bandwidth is less than the coherence bandwidth of the channel, then we can say the subcarriers will be experiencing flat fading. So flat fading means the channel behaves almost flat, and there will be no variations in the signal amplitude, right? So that is what is required, right? So with that, what I can say is the intersymbol interference on each of these subcarriers will be very small, we say. So with that, nowadays we are implementing this OFDM by using digital technology, like we can use inverse fast Fourier transform at the transmitter and fast Fourier transform at the receiver. With that, the intersymbol interference can be completely eliminated through the use of cyclic prefix. So I will come to this, what is cyclic prefix and also. It is a very, very important concept, what I can say. Without using this, and then implementation of this OFDM would have been very difficult. Okay, that is, you have studied DFT and IDFT, right? So discrete Fourier transform and inverse discrete Fourier transform. So those things can be implemented by using FFT and IFFT algorithms. Okay, so by using this, as I said, we will be able to eliminate the intersymbol interference completely by the use of cyclic prefix. Yeah. Yes, sir. As I was telling, I think yesterday also I have shown this diagram. Okay, so this is the basic multi-carrier transmitter and as well as receiver. So as I said, here this are bits per second, right? So this is the high data stream. Okay, this high data stream is divided into, I said, L narrow band substreams. Okay, means this R will be divided by L. So I get L narrow band substreams. Then each of that narrow band substreams will be modulated by using the carrier frequencies which are orthogonal to each other, right? Then some of that will be the OFDM signal in a very simple manner to understand. Okay, so this is what the concept of multi-carrier transmitter, what I can say. So a high rate stream of R bits per second is broken into L parallel streams, right? Each with the rate of what? R by L bits per second, and then it is multiplied by different carrier frequencies. Then we are summing up. So this operation will be replaced by IFFT in case of digital implementation. So similarly, at the receiver side, so the received signal will be denoted as Y of t, right? The transmitted signal is X of t. Then here what happens? Again, we need to do the demodulation because we have L narrow band substreams, right? So we are using L demodulators of L subcarrier frequencies. Then pass it to a low pass filter. Then do again parallel to serial converter. Then we get the R bits per second data. So this data and this data will be same. Okay, so this is what the multi-carrier transmitter and receiver block diagrams. Yes, so hope you are able to get the idea how it is an important solution or approach to eliminate intersymbol interference. What do we do, right? Hope, shall I proceed further?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm not getting any response. I don't know whether people are here.
Yes.
Are they able to hear? Am I connected?
Yes, sir.
See, when I don't get any response, then yes, I hope I am connected with you all.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Audible, sir.
Yeah, please respond. Otherwise, sometimes networks issues will be there, right? If you don't respond, if I don't get any response, then if I keep saying from my end, and if you are not able to hear anything, then there is no point, right? So that is why I ask in between some questions, and so that I confirm by myself that I am connected with you all. Okay, whatever I said, is that fine so far?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Just what I was telling to explain this. See, the transmitted multi-carrier signal, right, have a bandwidth of what? B by L. Okay, this B by L should be less than, much less than the coherence bandwidth. See, this is the coherence bandwidth of the channel. Okay, and this is the bandwidth of the each subcarrier, right? So this subcarrier bandwidth is much less than the coherence bandwidth. Hence, I can say the subcarrier will be experiencing the flat fading. Okay, flat fading. And this is the overall system bandwidth, that is B. Okay, anyhow, this will be much greater than the coherence bandwidth. Now, the point here is what you need to understand is each subcarrier bandwidth has to be much less than the coherence bandwidth. Okay, then only I can say the signal is free from intersymbol interference. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So what I can interpret from this multi-carrier modulation is that is in both time domain and as well as frequency domain is that. So in case of time domain, what I can interpret is the symbol duration on each subcarrier, right, has to be what? T is equal to the symbol duration has to be L into Ts. So by having large value of L, right, so we will be able to, means if I increase the value of L, what I can say, the duration of the bit is also increasing, right? So means that will be possible to have much greater than the channel delay spread, right? So with that, I can say it will meet the requirement of the intersymbol interference free communication. Okay, means I can assure that if I have a large value of L, means large number of subcarriers, with that I will be able to increase the symbol duration, and which will be much greater than the channel delay spread. With that I can say I will be able to have the intersymbol interference free communication. That is the interpretation in time domain, right? How do I interpret the same thing in frequency domain is, see, I said that the subcarriers will have a bandwidth of what? B by L, right? So which is to be much less than the coherence bandwidth. Okay, the subcarrier bandwidth is what? B by L, which is to be much less than the coherence bandwidth. So if the subcarrier bandwidth is much less than the coherence bandwidth, what I said, this condition will assure that the flat fading. Okay, so that is what I said is the frequency domain equivalent to intersymbol interference free communication. Okay, so these are the two ways to interpret about this multi-carrier modulation, one in time domain and another one in frequency domain. Hope this point is clear. Yes, how do I interpret in time domain? As I said, the symbol duration on each subcarrier has increased to what? T is equal to L into Ts, right? So by getting the value of L is large, what is going to happen? The value of T is also going to increase, right? So that assures that the symbol duration will be exceeding the channel delay spread. So okay, with that I say it will be meeting the requirement for intersymbol interference free communication, right? So in frequency domain, what I said, the subcarriers will have a bandwidth which is much less than the coherence bandwidth. So that will assure the flat fading. Okay, so that is the requirement for the what? Intersymbol interference free communication in frequency domain we said. Okay, so this is how we interpret the multi-carrier modulation in time domain and frequency domain. Okay, so what is the limitations of this transmitter and receiver, what I have shown in the previous slide about this multi-carrier modulation, right? The one thing is, the first and foremost thing is the subcarriers, okay, will not have a perfectly rectangular pulse shape. So we have discussed a lot about this, right? What should be the shape of the signal? Okay, so that we will be able to have uh, the signal which is free from inter-symbol interference, right? I think in the 6th semester digital communication, one module we have discussed about that, right? What should be the Nyquist criteria, right? And what is the pulse shape, right? So because I said if it is not a perfect rectangular pulse, then what happens? It is a sinc function, right? The Fourier transform of the rectangular pulse is a sinc function. So you all know it is not time limited, right? If the signal is not time limited, then it leads to infinite this one, right? So we'll get a tail signal, tail of the signal goes as time tends to infinity. That is one limitation, what I can say. Another one is at the receiver side, it requires very high quality low pass filters. Okay, it requires very high quality low pass filters. Right, so that is required to maintain the orthogonality of the subcarriers at the receiver. Okay, so as I say, very high quality low pass filters will be expensive. Okay, so the cost of the receiver is going to increase. The third and most important thing is whatever the scheme I have shown, that multi-carrier modulation scheme requires L independent RF units, L independent RF units, and as well as the demodulation paths. So this is going to increase the size of the device and as well as the cost of the system. Okay, so that system, whatever I have shown, dividing high bit rate stream into L narrowband stream, then use subcarriers which are orthogonal, multiply, then sum up and all, right? So it requires L independent RF units and a demodulation paths. As I said, this is an important limitation, which is because if I increase the number of subcarriers, no, so many independent RF units are required, right? So with that, you all will be able to visualize the circuit will become also big, and the cost of the system is also going to become more, right? So how do we then overcome this problem in multi-carrier modulation only? So for that, the solution is orthogonal frequency division multiplexing, OFDM. Okay, right? So this is a multi-carrier modulation. This system has the limitations of these things. That is why I highlighted these three limitations. Out of these three, I said third one is very important because it requires, see, this is one RF, right, path. This is another RF path. Like that, it requires L RF units at the transmitter side and similarly L demodulation units in the receiver side, right? So, but I want only one RF unit at the transmitter side and only one demodulation path at the receiver side. How do I meet that? Hope you're understanding my question. Yes, my dear students, I'm asking, are you able to understand what I said? So with this type of modulation, whatever I said, multi-carrier modulation, no? What I said, I require L number of RF units, right? Similarly, I need L demodulation circuits, but I don't want to do like this. I want to have only a single RF unit and single demodulation path. So that can be achieved by using the OFDM. Okay, means I can overcome all these drawbacks or limitations with this type of modulation by going to orthogonal frequency division multiplexing with cyclic prefix. Okay, without cyclic prefix, without the use of cyclic prefix in OFDM, these are the issues. Okay, by using the concept of cyclic prefix, I will be able to overcome these limitations. Hope got my point. I will tell what is a cyclic prefix. Okay, that will be the next topic, what I can say. Yes, hope understood this one.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, because of course I have to start with OFDM basics only, but without telling what is multi-carrier modulation, what are the limitations of this type of multi-carrier modulation, you will not be able to appreciate the concept of OFDM with cyclic prefix. Okay, directly if I say okay OFDM with cyclic prefix will be like this, then you would not have understood why we go for OFDM with cyclic prefix. So I hope I conveyed what I wanted to convey in this multi-carrier modulation. I said the basic or most important limitation is what it requires L RF units at the transmitter side and L demodulation paths at the receiver side. So with that, I said the circuit cost will increase and complexity will also increase, and we are going to waste the resources, right? So to overcome that problem, as I said, we go for orthogonal frequency division multiplexing with the cyclic prefix. Okay. Fine. Before I take up the OFDM with cyclic prefix concept, so I wanted you people to just try to understand this example. Okay, so always if we understand, if we discuss with the example, then understanding will be more better and you will get a better clarity. Okay, hope any one of you can read this example. I don't call it names. I think I will give it to you people. Any one of you, whoever is comfortable, can read this example. Hope it is visible now. Yes, I'm asking, is it possible to read? Nobody is comfortable in reading this example? Yes, my dear students, just I'm asking you people to read it. I'm not asking you people to explain. I'm not asking any questions. I want.
A certain wideband wireless channel has a delay
Yeah.
spread of 1 microsecond. In order
Yeah.
to overcome ISI, assume a requirement that TA greater than or equal to 10 tau.
Yeah, it is TS, okay? That's the symbol duration. It should be greater than or equal to 10 times the channel delay spread. Tau is nothing but the channel delay spread, right? Yeah. Yes, ma, continue.
What is the maximum bandwidth allowable in the system if the ISI constraint is to be met without using multi-carrier modulation?
Okay. So that is the first thing. Okay. What is the second question?
If multi-carrier modulation is used and we desire a 10 MHz bandwidth, what is the required number of subcarriers?
Okay.
For
And
part
I think,
1,
yeah.
For part 1, if it is assumed that Ts is equal to 10T, in order to satisfy the ISI free condition, the maximum bandwidth would be 1 by Ts is equal to zero point 0.1 by T is equal to 100 kHz, two orders of magnitude below the intended bandwidths for LTE systems. In part 2, if multi-carrier modulation is employed, the symbol time goes to T is equal to LTS. The delay spread criterion mandates that the new symbol time is bounded to 10% of the delay spread, that is LTS power of minus 1 is equal to 100 kHz. But the 10 MHz bandwidth requirement gives TS power minus 1 is equal to 10 MHz. Hence, L greater than or equal to 100, so a suitable choice of L might be 128 subcarriers to allow the full 10 MHz bandwidth to be used with negligible ISI.
Yeah. Thank you, Ritika. Yes, what others have understood take time. I will give 2 minutes time to read, understand, and I want you people to interpret this example. Okay, so this is how I want to be involved with you people. Is that fine?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, if any difficulties, you can ask me. Just have a look, read, try to understand, and you should be able to interpret this understanding. I think definitely if you understand this example, I hope you will be able to appreciate the multi-carrier modulation. Yes, hope any one of you can interpret this, your understanding, at least first part. It does not give much gap. As I said, at least first part can be interpreted from your end, any one of you who can interpret. Yes, my dear students, be volunteer. Try to express your understanding. No? Is it so complicated? Yes, any one of you?
Sir, in the first condition,
Yeah,
in the question it's given that the requirement is TS is greater than 10 tau, sir. And
yeah,
tau in the question is given as, the delay speed is given as 1 microsecond.
yeah, 1 microsecond. Very good.
So for error-free condition,
Yeah.
we keep the equality. So that
Yeah.
is equal to 10 tau.
Yeah.
And 1 by TS gives us the bandwidth. So
Yeah.
that becomes 10 goes to the numerator and becomes 0.1 by tau. That's 100
Yes.
kilohertz, sir.
Yeah. So here the bandwidth becomes 100 kilohertz, right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. It says which is 2 orders of magnitude below the intended bandwidth for LTE systems. So hope I don't know how many of you are aware what is the bandwidth requirement of LTE. I said it supports variable bandwidth, right? Hope remember the variable bandwidth that is from 1.5 megahertz up to 20 megahertz. 1.5 megahertz, 1.4 megahertz, I think. Okay, then 3 megahertz, then 5 megahertz, 10 megahertz, 15 megahertz, and 20 megahertz. So it can support these variable bandwidth LTE. But here, with this requirement, right, with this condition, when the channel delay spread is 1 microsecond, right? So to have the ISI free communication, right, means without using multi-carrier modulation, right? So the maximum bandwidth allowable is how much it is? 100 kilohertz. Hope this point is clear. See, without using multi-carrier modulation, to have ISI free communication, the maximum allowable bandwidth is what? 100 kilohertz. Okay. Now, with the same constraint, means with the channel delay spread is 1 microsecond only, and still the symbol time, right, has to be greater than or equal to 10 times the channel delay spread. Right? If I go for multi-carrier modulation, then if I desire a bandwidth of 10 megahertz, then what is the number of sub-carriers required, he says, right? So with that, means if I use a multi-carrier modulation, right, now the symbol time, right, goes from what? T to L into Ts, right? T is equal to L into Ts. So I need to find out the value of L here, right? So the delay spread criteria is what it has to be. Ts has to be much greater than or equal to 10 times tau, right? That is what 10% what we can say, right, of the delay spread. So 1 by L into Ts, right? 1 by L into Ts, which is equal to 100 kilohertz. Hope we're getting this point. The delay spread criteria mandates that the new symbol time is still bounded to 10% of the delay spread. That is 1 by L into Ts is equal to 100 kilohertz, right? But the bandwidth is what? 100, that is 10 megahertz requirement, right? So this 10 megahertz bandwidth requires what? 1 over Ts, right? Which is equal to 10 megahertz. So what I can say here, 1 by L into Ts is 100 kilohertz, right? Here 1 by Ts is 10 megahertz. So what is the value of L? So well, the value of L, that is the number of subcarriers, will be greater than or equal to 100. See, L is equal to 2 power k, we say. The value of k, okay, the value of k goes like this, 1, 2, 3, and so on, right? So that is why instead of 100, we say it is 128. Hope understood this point. I said the relationship between the number of subcarriers and the FFT points, okay, endpoint FFT we say, no? So L is equal to 2 power k, okay, when k is 1, so the value of L will be 2. Then when k is 2, then the value of L will be 4, like that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like that. If I say, what is 2 power 7? Yes, 2 power 7 will be 128, no?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that is why instead of saying it has, means the number of subcarriers has to be greater than or equal to 100. Okay, to meet this bandwidth requirement. Okay, the number of subcarriers need to be greater than or equal to 100. Then we will be able to have this much of bandwidth. So I said the number of subcarriers will be, might be we can take 128 subcarriers. So that will allow the full 10 megahertz bandwidth to be used with negligible inter-symbol interference. Okay, so without multi-carrier modulation, the maximum allowable bandwidth is what? Only 100 kilohertz. Okay, to have free from inter-symbol interference communication. But if I use a multi-carrier modulation with the same conditions, right? So if I use 128 subcarriers, then I will be able to use a maximum bandwidth of 10 megahertz. Hope you are able to understand this example, what you wanted to convey. Yes? Got this point, or still do you have any doubts?
Got it, sir.
Got it? So you understood the importance of dividing, means using the multi-carrier modulation, how it can improve the system bandwidth so that it can accommodate more number of users with the same conditions of delay spread, right? With 1 microsecond delay spread, with this condition, right? I said the symbol time has to be greater than or equal to 10 times the channel delay spread. So without using multi-carrier modulation, right, the maximum allowable bandwidth for ISI free communication is what? Only 100 kilohertz, right? With the use of multi-carrier modulation, it is possible to go up to 10 megahertz of bandwidth. Okay, for that 10 megahertz bandwidth, if I want to, that is the maximum allowable bandwidth, right? I can use a maximum bandwidth of 10 megahertz. But how many subcarriers I need to use? I need to use a subcarriers of 128. Hope clear this example. To take time, try to understand this. Then I said, no, you will be able to appreciate without multi-carrier modulation how much maximum bandwidth we can achieve. With multi-carrier modulation, how much bandwidth is possible to allow or is possible to reach. Okay, with the same channel conditions, that is with a delay, channel delay spread of 1 microsecond, right? Yes. Shall I go to the next slide?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Yes, actually, this is your topic. As per the syllabus, you have to start with this. But without knowing about that multi-carrier modulation, you may not be able to appreciate the importance of this, I said, right? So as I said, this OFDM uses the discrete Fourier transform, okay, which is implemented by using fast Fourier transform algorithm and IFFT, that is IDFT, right? You might have studied DFT and IDFT, right? Discrete Fourier transform and inverse discrete Fourier transform. So those two things will be implemented by using FFT and IFFT algorithms, right? So this FFT and IFFT algorithms are able to create a multitude of orthogonal subcarriers using just a single radio. So this is important, what I can say. I said, no, the limitations of that multi-carrier modulation is what I said. It requires L radio units at the transmitter side and L demodulation paths at the receiver side, right? So if I use an orthogonal frequency division multiplexing with cyclic prefix, okay, that is, I can implement that OFDM by using this FFT and IFFT. It is possible to create a multitude of orthogonal subcarriers using just a single radio. So let us see how it is implemented. Okay, fine. So to begin with, what I wanted to say here is we can say that we are grouping L data symbols. Okay, grouping L data symbols into a block. That block is known as the OFDM symbol. Okay, so this OFDM symbol will have L data symbols. Okay, so this an OFDM symbol and its duration, let us assume that it is t seconds. This OFDM symbol duration will be t seconds. Okay, hope you're understanding what I'm saying. I said grouping L data symbols into a block known as OFDM symbol. So this OFDM symbol duration will be what? T seconds we say. So that T is equal to L into TS. Okay, where L is the number of data symbols and TS is the duration of each data symbol. So the total OFDM symbol duration will be T. Okay, so T is equal to, that is why we write L into TS. Hope this point is clear. So this is one OFDM symbol, means it will have L data symbols with a duration of TS. So L into TS will give you the OFDM symbol duration, which we denoted as T, capital T. Hope this point is clear. Yes, I am asking. Hope this point is clear. I said, what is OFDM symbol, right? This OFDM symbol will have L data symbols and each data symbol duration is TS seconds. So L into TS will give you the OFDM symbol duration. I'm asking, is this point is clear? Let us take L, as I said now, 128, right? The value of L is equal to 120, means I have 128 data symbols, I can say, right? And let us assume that TS is equal to say 10 microseconds. So 128 into 10 microseconds. That will give you the OFDM symbol duration. That is the value of T. Okay, fine. So I have a block of data symbols. I call that as an OFDM symbol. Like that, each OFDM symbol, okay, each OFDM symbol need to be independent of the other OFDM symbol, right? As it goes through the channel. So to make it each of the OFDM symbols to be independent of the other after going through the channel, I need to create a guard band, okay, from one OFDM symbol to another OFDM symbol, right, to overcome the overlapping of these OFDM symbols, right? If I create a guard time between these two OFDM symbols, then I will be able to avoid the intersymbol interference between these two OFDM symbols. Okay, maybe within this OFDM symbol, there will be an ISI. Okay, there will be an ISI. But by creating the guard time between each of these OFDM symbol blocks, I will be able to at least overcome the intersymbol interference, okay, between these two OFDM symbol blocks. Okay, hope this point is clear. So still I'm missing the connection.
Yes, sir.
I said now, what is OFDM symbol, right? So it will have L data symbols and each data symbol duration is TS seconds. So L into TS will be what? That is the OFDM symbol duration, which we denote it as T. So T is equal to L into TS, I said that. To make these OFDM symbols independent of one another, when it is transmitted over the channel, I need to create a guard time between each of these OFDM symbols. Okay, so with that, I said I will be able to avoid overlapping of these OFDM symbols. Okay, fine. So that is one thing. Next is, after receiving a series of these OFDM symbols, right? If the guard time, okay, if the guard time, which is denoted as a T suffix G, is larger than the delay spread. Okay, if this guard time is larger than the delay spread of the channel, then each OFDM symbol will only interfere with itself. Means what I said, see, if the guard time is much greater than the channel delay spread, then there will be only overlap of means there will be an overlap of the signal within this OFDM symbol. I said no, this OFDM symbol has L data symbols, right? So there will be overlap of those L data symbols within this OFDM symbol. But as a block, what I say, OFDM symbol, there will be no overlap of signal from one OFDM symbol to another OFDM symbol block. Okay. So hope this point I cleared. That is why it is written here delay spread, right? If the guard time is greater than the channel delay spread, then I can say that these OFDM symbol blocks will not be overlapped, or there will be no intersymbol interference between these OFDM symbol blocks. But there will be a small intersymbol interference, or there is a chance of overlapping within this OFDM symbol, because this OFDM symbol has L data symbols, right? So OFDM transmissions allow ISI, right, within an OFDM symbol. That's why I'm saying that OFDM transmissions allows intersymbol interference within an OFDM symbol. But by including a sufficiently large guard band between the OFDM symbols, so it is possible to guarantee that there will be no interference between subsequent OFDM symbols. So this is one OFDM symbol, this is another OFDM symbol, and if the guard band between these two OFDM symbols is much greater than the delay spread, the channel delay spread, then I can say I will be able to avoid the intersymbol interference between these two OFDM symbol blocks. But as I said, within this OFDM symbol, there will be an intersymbol interference. Let us see how to overcome or avoid the intersymbol interference within this OFDM symbol. That is our next task. Hope I conveyed this concept. Yes, have you understood what I said? It's an important catchy concept you need to understand, right? I said this, I repeat once again, I said this OFDM symbol will have L data symbols, right? This, okay, I am grouping L data symbols, each with duration TS seconds, right? With that, I can say the OFDM symbol duration will be T. So T is equal to L into TS. So by having a guard band between each of these OFDM symbols, I will be able to remove intersymbol interference, okay, or I will be able to avoid intersymbol interference between these two OFDM symbol blocks. But there will be an ISI within this OFDM symbol. Okay, let us see how we can overcome the intersymbol interference within that OFDM symbol. Okay, I think I will take up that in the next class, what I feel. So with this, I think let me stop. Is that fine? Hope you are all following what I'm saying. Yes, my dear student should respond.
Yes, sir.
Is it fine? Yeah. If you understand these concepts clearly, then I think further subsequent lectures will become easy. Okay, just 1 minute, I will take the attendance.